We are continuing with properties of logarithms on problem number 7. We need to expand this. I believe we've done this before, but we did not go as far as we needed to. Whenever you guys have two numbers, two expressions being multiplied together, the very first thing you're going to use is the product property. So the very first thing that I want you to do is expand this using the product properties. We'll put 2x power of 3 plus log base 2 of x plus 1. So that's the very first thing. We've already done that part, so you should have this right here and this right here. And because they're being multiplied together, we are using the product property of logarithms. Now, what we did not do that I want you to do is I want you guys to separate what's inside of this parentheses and understand 2 to the power of 3 and x to the power of 3. We can apply this power to the 1 and the 1 inside of that parentheses. So right now I want you guys to separate those two, and we're going to do the product property one more time because these are being multiplied together. So technically you can write log base 2 to the power of 3 plus log base 2 x to the power of 3. So this goes right here, and this x cubed goes right here. So once again, what did we use? Product property. Let's bring down the other one. That's as far as we can go with this guy. Now there is a key rule. If I say log base b of b, and I wrote the number 1, 2, 3 right there, what would this end up equal? Whatever's up there. If I call that an x, then that's an x. If that's a y, that's a y. If that's a happy face, that's a happy face. If I put 1, 2, 3, that's 1, 2, 3. If and only if these numbers are exactly the same. Do we notice that these numbers right here are exactly the same? So what does this evaluate to? That evaluates to a 3. So log base 2 of 2 to the power of 3 ends up becoming the number 3. The last thing I'm going to do with this one is going to take this 3, I'm going to move it up front using the power property. My board will work. We're going to write 3 log 2 of x and this is the final answer, 100% expanded. Okay? That's your final answer. Now, before, what do we have down as the answer before? Because I can show you guys how to do it before you guys had it before. What do you guys have before for your final answer? 3 log of 2x, right, base 2, right? Plus log 2 of x plus 1. Now, I want you guys to see right here, this 3 applies to that 2, and this 3 applies to that x. So even if you continued to expand it, you see how I put the 2 here and the x here? The only thing that you probably have a hard time is understanding that this right here simply means the number 3. But if you put that back up to the power, you can see that these are the same. So that just ends up becoming a 3. So this is our final answer. So you could still technically convert this to this if you did one more step. All right, one more. The very first property that I want you to use is I want you guys to use the quotient property on number 9. Get closer to my computer, maybe the board will look better. So the quotient property allows us to put this minus sign here. That's what we're using first. We're using the quotient property. I'll write it down. Okay. Now, the next thing I want us to do is I want us to expand this part using the product property. So I want you guys to write log 13 of 3 plus log 13 of x to the power of 4. So take the 3, put it right there, take x to the 4th, put it right there, minus log 13 of, and I'm going to put 7x minus 3, and I'm going to raise that to the power of 1/3. Using this principle, if I have any number inside of a radical and I change it to a rational exponent, it's going to be m over n. Remember this right here, this is called the index. Our index is a 3. We only have one 7x minus 3, so it's 7x minus 3 to the power of 1/3. So anytime you guys see a cubic root of x, that's the same as saying x to the power of 1/3, because technically there's just one of them. So once everything is expanded, the last thing you have to do is you have to use the power property right here, and you have to use the power property right here, and you have to move those powers up in front. So the first one just stays the same. We're going to put the 4 up front. And then we're going to put the 1/3 up front as well. And this is your final answer of 100% expand. Okay? What we're going to do now, since we've been practicing expansion, what we're going to do is we're going to condense some logarithms. So the ones that we're going to condense are going to be on the back page. Okay, so we're going to do 2 of them together. We're going to do problem number 13 and 15 together. So I want you guys to go to the back page. I'll go back. All right. We are going to condense this expression and make it a lot smaller than what it looks like right now. So there's going to be a lot of things we're going to be dealing with. We're going to be obviously dealing with the quotient property because we see the minus sign. We have a power property that we're going to have to use. So one thing I want you guys to understand about order of operation. You always work your problems from left to right. Always work them from left to right. So how in the world can you get a number 2 out of a log base 7? So step number 1. You're going to put in your journal. I want you guys to write step number 1. When you're looking to condense something, look at the base. That's the most important thing to look at, is look at the base. Right now, what base are we in? We're in base 7. So right now, if we're in base 7, that means I have to figure out what number would have to be right there if I'm in base 7 for that to equal a 2. It would have to be a 2. So understand, the number 2 can also be rewritten as log base 7 of 7 to the power of 2. That follows this rule, everybody. Log base b of x will always equal x. This is something you should have in your journal. If it's not there, put it there, because it's pretty damn important. All right? Go ahead. Erase that and get it out of the way. Now, this can also be rewritten. What is 7 squared? 49. So what I want you guys to do, the very first step, I want you guys to change the number 2 to log 7 of 49. Because 7 squared is 49. Then write minus log 7 of 6. Minus. Now, something you can always do, you can take that 2 and move it up. So the 2 becomes log base 7 of 49. Everything else, if you notice, everything else changes, stays the same except for this 2 using the power property. You move it right back up here. The minus sign means we're dealing with the quotient property. This minus sign also means we're dealing with the quotient property. So how do we work these? We always work them from left to right. So what I want you to do first is I want us to take this and condense just that. So just condense that. See if you guys can come up with that. If you're watching the video, pause it. See if you can come up with this answer. We're about to write it. What number is going to go on top?
49.
What number in the bottom? There we go. So this right here becomes this using the quotient property. Now let me show you kind of a cool little rule here. All right. If this says minus, that once again means we're dealing with the quotient property. The quotient property means I'm dividing, right? So I got to put this where? I got to put this in the bottom. If this said plus, then you would take the x squared and you put it up top. So since it says minus, what you're going to do, the final answer is just going to be log 7 of 49 over 6x squared. Because both of these are technically in the denominator. That's why there was 2 minus signs. It had a minus log of log base 7 6, and it had minus log base 7 x squared. This is 100% condensed. That's a horrible handwriting. That's better. Okay. What I want you guys to do right now, I want you guys to go ahead and try to do number 15 on your own. We're going to check it here in about 3 minutes. The very first thing that I would do for problem number 15 is I would use the power property. Now there's something interesting about number 15 that's not there that we usually see. What was our base in number 13? It was base what?
7.
Base 7. You see a base on number 15. Okay, everybody, I want you guys to write in your journal. This is the first thing that might be a little bit different. What's called the common log, everybody, is base 10. All right? The common log is base 10. By the way, we live in a base 10 counting system. Okay? That's what our base is. We live in a base 10 counting system. So, everybody, if you don't see a number as a base, automatically assume that it says a 10. You don't have to write it in. Just automatically assume that that's a base 10. By the way, if I say the square root of x, what number is our index no matter what? 2, right? We don't have to write it in there. We just know it's a square root is the index of a 2. So the very first thing I want you to do is take the powers and move them up. Okay? What property is being used right here? Yeah, product property. Good job, Luke. So, combine that for me. Condense it. I have a y, I have a 3. What am I going to do with those? 3y. Good. Done. Okay. Minus. The log of x. And what power is going to go up here? 1 over 3. Plus log base 10 of z. What power is up here? 2. That's your first step right there. What did we use? We used the product property and condense that. Okay? Then we used the power property, move the powers up. We always work these from left to right. So CJ, what does this tell me right here? This minus sign. What does that tell me?
We're taking the wait.
Minus sign. What property?
Maybe.
Sorry. Put you on the spot there. So, that's the quotient property. All right. Anytime you see a plus, what do you think? You think that's the product property. You see a minus, you think quotient property. So, Jennifer, what do you think is going to go on top? We're trying to combine this right here. That's right. Angela, what's going to be in the denominator? X to 1/3. Good. Okay. Then we put plus log z squared. Put that inside parentheses. All right. Now, once again, we have a plus sign. That means it's a product. So where is the z squared going to go? Is it going to go up here or down below?
Above.
Above. Here's why. Last problem, look. In the last problem, we had a what? We had a minus sign, which means it's quotient. I had to put this where? I had to put this on the bottom. This one, by the way, I'm doing this for a reason, because I want you guys to see the difference. This one says plus, so I'm going to take the z squared, I'm going to put it up in the numerator. Okay? So here's your final answer. You're going to have a 3, a y, and a z squared up in the numerator. What did I tell you guys that this is going to change to? What's the same thing without being a rational exponent? The cubic root of x. This is 100% condensed. All right? So understand, I want you guys to make the equation with these are the same thing. Okay, it's just written as a radical. All right? By the way, this question right here, if I gave you this question and say expand it, then guess what? That's your answer. All right? I want you guys to work through all of them that you've not completed, all the way through number 16. That's what I want you guys to work on, and we'll check those today. I'll let you know if you got them right or wrong.